welcome to this lightning talk about a brief overview of character design. Uh, one thing I want to talk about first is character design for games, because that's like a whole different beast than designing characters for toys, for TV, or whatever. You have to keep what the main camera, what the main gameplay elements have to be to design your stuff. Because, for example, you're doing like this rude cowboy, but for a fixed camera angle, people are not gonna be able to see the face. So you have to
I'm
keep
sure that's how he
the
feels. Yeah.
gameplay. You have to keep the gameplay at the first priority. For example, one important thing to have is when you have direct player control with gamepad, mouse, whatever, is the direction the character is looking at. That has to be very clear. And if you don't have like a very specific silhouette, like for example we have here in Superman, color is the secondary thing that tells you if Superman is looking at you or looking just to the other side. So you need to use color as the secondary element if you can't do anything with the silhouette. Because some players can be colorblind or have a weird TV or bad lighting conditions where the screen is. So you need to make the silhouette the first and then the color. For example, Crash Bandicoot would have a easy silhouette, but they used specifically orange because there was like no orange in the original game levels. They had, for example, a lava level, and they scrapped it, so all the environments had like no orange in it, so the character always pops out. And if you look at, at the main UI, this also pops out quite a lot. And have this one. Another thing to take in account is if it's gonna be modular for skins or for character customizations, and that's very important to have for especially for 3D or 2D rigs to make everything in different layers, different combinations of skins. That sounded like better when I was taking the notes, but you get the point.
Still following. Yep.
If it's modular, yeah. If it's modular, you have to take more things into account. And you're gonna be worried if the different skins break your vibes also.
Yeah.
For example, if you're using one style, you can approach it in a whole different in a lot of different ways. And in this example, for example, we have all the guys with the same style, same haircut. All of these guys are like monks with floppy ears, but you can tell everyone apart because of the different facial features. Telling characters apart is one of the main things when you have like several. For example, we have here a set of different mechas that had different personalities for each one, and the pilots also carry the personalities of each robot. We have the stocky builder, the weird scientific, the punk fighter, the uptight tech corporate guy.
Yeah, equality.
Yeah, you can have in real life you can have personalities that doesn't match the look of the people, but if you're doing characters for a game, you need to make everything easier for the player because they have a lot of things going on in their life. So if the bad guy looks like a bad guy, it's easier for everyone. For example, we have another set of characters here that work in the same company and use a uniform, but the way they use the uniform is different. So you can, at first glance, tell them apart. these three are the scientifics with the lab coats, but one wears it a bit open, one fully closed. You'll see everyone has a different height. Everything is different about them, even with the same company branding. You can tell everything apart. For example, we have another example here with similar colors, yes. Muscular man, yes. Martial artist, yes. But the vibes here are very different because of the acting, the poses, the age the characters are showing. So here you see that everything everything adds to the vibe of the character. Just change you can change one thing and it can look completely different. We have like another example of just the opposite, similar vibes but different colors and same base, martial artist, muscular, but the acting and the moveset of these two guys is the same. But if you want to go like with a more realistic approach, you have less options to make all these differences, and you have to settle on more nuanced stuff. For example, here you have a realistic style, but you also can tell by the size of the character that Ellie is the teenager you have to protect with all the rest of the enemies being adults. In real life, you can have a very big teenager, but they made a small teenager, so it's easy to see between all the detailed environments. And that's the that's the end of this quick overview.
Wow. Yeah,
Nice.
that was enlightening. Yeah, I learned a lot of that.
Do you have any particular question?
Yeah, sure. I can start. So you mentioned how to make a character different from one another when it's about the same family, martial arts, etc. And what do you usually do to make? I mean, you said to make someone different, you could do anything, right? But what do you usually stick to? What is your preferred thing to do when you want to make someone stand out, for example?
And I guess if I could tack on to what Sam was saying, do you usually, for example, pick like, you know how in levels you'll have like a hero asset? It's something that defines that area or that space. Is that the same approach to characters where it might be the equivalent of a hero asset, but, localized to the character?
Yeah, very very good point. It's usually one big thing that makes characters different, and then small details. But for example, if you take a look at real life, you probably can tell the difference between all your family members, even with all them having similar features. For example, I have an uncle that has same nose I have, but has almond eyes and is very big. So even we have the same nose, we look different. So the size
Yeah.
is the main difference. But we share, for example, like hair color, same nose, similar mouth, or similar ears, but eyes. A small detail is different, and a big detail, the size is also different. So with a small detail and a big detail, you can have two very different characters. So yeah,
Okay.
basically taking inspiration from the everyday life, it goes a long way.
So you do have this notion of big detail in smaller things to change.
Yeah, and I also usually sketch people from the bus, the train, or the street. I usually take a notebook with me to do quick studies when I see distinct features. For example, I see a guy with a very long nose, and I take that note to then apply it. Have a visually strong visual library in my head to then apply it to the designs.
Okay, so
And
it
same
seems
thing
like
with
it seems like
props,
the
for example.
first. Sorry. was going to mention, it seems like the approach here is, again, I would say probably similar to level design in the sense that you focus a bit more on composition first, and then like the details come in after the fact. And so composition, and then, for example, are they wearing a particular piece of jewelry, and do they have an earring that just hangs from one ear instead of wearing both, and is it long versus a stud? These sorts of things are pieces that are not really taken into consideration when you're determining like the initial distinction between characters, right? It's more detailing for personality. So maybe that's a different way to think about it. I guess there's the idea of uniqueness in shape and form, and then I think what maybe you might have been talking about, Sammy, or maybe I was referencing, was then more uniqueness and personality. And I guess those are probably two different parts. Yeah.
Yeah, and it all comes to how will you use the characters. Because, for example, in our RTS, maybe having a character with earrings doesn't make a lot of sense because it's all very far apart. We have buildings like this, a tower, throwing arrows. Maybe the arrows are like this, and the characters are tiny. But if you have, for example, a menu or a dialogue screen with a character portrait, then you can showcase these small personality details. So
Okay, so
you have
context.
you have to be in touch with all the other people in the teams to see what the context will be of the characters. But because, for example, if there's not gonna be character portraits anywhere, maybe you can skip doing the face of the character and focus only on the body.
Yeah.
And is there something that, and maybe this is specific to the person, but is there anything in particular with character design where it is consistently the most difficult part, or it causes friction consistently?
I'd say it depends on the project. I don't have like a most difficult
Right.
area.
Right. So, for example, and I guess, yeah, that'll change if you're doing a, I don't know, top-down Path of Exile type isometric one versus a close-up 3D over the shoulder versus something else. That makes sense.
Yeah, it all depends on, for example, if the limitations you're gonna have, if you need to do animations. Maybe if you have, I don't know, big weapons and big legs, do the moveset allows to move the weapons between the legs or things like that? It's all in the context. Or do you have like hanging bits that will overlap with the arms?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you have to keep in touch with the modelers and everyone to make the best result.
Yeah, because the result is depending on other people too.
Yeah, if everyone is having their small bit, it adds to a better product.
Any other
Even the
questions?
sound design can be a great tool for the character designs because you have a knight with a huge cape. It doesn't sound the same as a knight with only metal armor. So yeah, there's more work for the sound designer.
Yeah.
Or if you have fur boots, or you have like pointy metal legs, yeah, that also changes the sound.
I think
Of
what
course,
you've
yeah.
proven here is someone has to bear the burden of responsibility. And so if you shift it from the animator, it goes with the sound designer, vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I was saying is that everyone will contribute to how the characters feel
Yeah.
in the end. Because, for example, you have animation does a lot. You have with Superman, for example, you have the same guy. Uh, you have the same guy as Superman and as Clark Kent, and it's all in the glasses, but it's all in the demeanor they have. Clark Kent is more like this, and Superman is
Right. Like
more
even
like
the
this.
posture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the post tells everything, and the animator is the one who's gonna make the main postures.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think it's kind of like vice versa and like back and forth between even the storyteller at the start, like the one who writes the story, then pass it to you to write the concepts, and then then the programmers, the animators, 3D modeler should just go back and forth between you, and you go to them, like tell them your ideas and feelings. It's not
Yeah, the
just
more you
one
go back and
one
forth, yeah,
direction. Yeah.
the better. For example, yeah, I had all the time in the world. I'll do sketches for all the main animations to better connect the designs with the purpose of the animations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So you don't end with a Superman that looks like he's writing the newspaper. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My
You
last
can
question
have.
will be maybe something that you learn or common mistakes that you now avoid when designing a character that you've learned for either a source or even someone.
Yeah, the major thing I avoid is getting too carried away with details and
Yeah.
just share the sketches as first as soon as possible to not end up doing a lot of work that needs to be revised later. If I share the work when it's like this, it it goes more organically to the best result.
Yes.
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yourself
That's
too.
a great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, if for example you have Superman, you share when Superman is like this, then you will get the feedback and you will know if they don't need a big guy. But if you spend like
Detailing
all day
that.
doing a very detailed Superman and they need a small guy, it all goes to the to the recycle bin. So if you share Superman when it's like this, but it shows that it's a big guy, you will work only the necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.